Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Deconversion Stories. Wait a second. That's not right. Today, we're not doing a deconversion story. If you do, however, would like to know anything at all about Matt's deconversion story, there are links below to part 1 and 2. And there are also lots of links to all the other stuff Matt does, except for the Twitch, which apparently he was telling me he spends most of his life on. So I will add that link to it afterwards, so you guys can check it out afterwards, and you'll find it all down there. Anyways, today, as you can see, my guest is the one and only Matt Dillahunty, as you guys probably know, apparently from his Twitch streaming and from the Atheist Experience, the Hang Up, the Line, and a whole bunch more. Matt, what I usually do here is talk to people about how they left their old beliefs behind, but today I think I want to cover, because I never ever got to speak to you about this sort of a thing. Like, what's your take on what does community, like the atheist community, mean to you? Do you think there is one, or do you think it's kind of splintered like I do?
Oh, I don't think there's one. I think there's many. I mean, we can speak about it. We're not unified on any particular notion, perhaps not even on whether or not there's a God, considering some of the people in the community that I've talked to.
Fair enough.
But it's all about context. I think there is a way to view, like, for example, the American atheist community, the broader global atheist community, and then work all the way down to the atheist community of Austin. And then it's not like we have official groups between them, but there are people who hang out more with so-and-so and so-and-so, and people disagree. Right. We need to stop pretending like we're anything at all like a hive mind.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been so much.
Well, shit. Now you and I have to part ways because we're too much in agreement. We have now fractured this, and you will go have your group and I'll have mine.
But wait, man, I thought we were part of the same group.
I think so, but maybe we might disagree before the show's over. What are we going to do, Neil?
I don't know. We'll figure that out when it happens.
Ask me the questions, Bridge Keeper. I'm not afraid.
What is your fate? No, never mind. Are we going to do some Monty Python quoting?
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Leave that for later.
Yeah.
Anyway,
when everybody's drunk.
Yeah. This is already my second one, so it won't take me too long. But one of the things I've always kind of wanted to know is, after your departure from your previous belief system, how did you stumble on the ACA and the Atheist Experience, and how did you get involved with that?
I was writing for an online sort of magazine called Useless Knowledge. It was like uselessknowledge.com or whatever. It wasn't like a paid gig or anything. It was basically like anybody could go submit their, I don't know, miniature whatever to an editor, and it would get posted. And there was a guy on there who was posting sermons. He would pick out a chapter or a passage of some sort, and he would write up a sermon about it. And as an exercise, I started to submit counter sermons. I would take the exact same passage and show how it could easily be viewed in another way to give a completely different message. And I was doing this a lot at work, and somebody at work said, "Hey, have you seen this public access show on TV? It's called The Atheist Experience. There are people like you out there doing the show." And I was like, "No, I haven't seen that, but I'm not really interested." They didn't even tell me describe what it was. It was just, they're people like you. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to people like me. I want to talk to people like the way I used to be.
Right.
And I went out to the mailbox on a Sunday afternoon to pick up my mail. And it turns out that this is kind of like an act of God. Jeff D lived in the exact same apartment complex at the time, and we didn't know it.
As you?
As me.
Oh, wow.
And he had put a flyer up for the Atheist Experience on the bulletin board by all the mailboxes. And so on the Sunday afternoon, I went out and got my mail. I saw the flyer that reminded me what the person at work said. And I looked at my watch, and I was like, oh, that show's getting ready to start, in like 30 minutes. So I just went in, sat down, tuned in, and I watched, and I called in, and then they invited me to the after show dinner, and I went to the dinner. And the next week I was sitting in the control booth, screening calls. Nice. And a week or so after that, I was doing the Chiron and the graphics and the other stuff. Basically worked all my way through all those things. And one day, Ashley Perry and Jeff D didn't show up. He forgot it was his week to host. And I had just written an article about the 10 Commandments monuments decisions from the Supreme Court. And Ashley had read it, and we've been talking, we're hanging out, we're friends. I'm there for all of this stuff. And Ashley already knew that I wanted to do the show at some point. He goes, "Hey, you want to come on to talk about that Ten Commandments thing?" And yeah, that was the first show that I was on, and it's all, well, the rest is history. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no kidding. Is it available, that first episode? Because I think I remember seeing
all of those episodes are available.
Okay, because I remember a while back when they started launching the early stuff, they didn't. They claimed to not have all of them.
Well, we don't have all of them from before.
Okay.
So the early hosts, the people who were hosting back when I was still a fundamentalist Christian, although didn't care quite as much about it around this time. They didn't record everything. First of all, the show didn't start off live. The show didn't start off call in, and the problem is that we have, even in the last year or so, found some of those old recordings. Sorry, I get hiccups all of a sudden. We found some of those recordings. They've been posted. We don't keep an archive of them up, but there are, like, you can order like a DVD of season 1 or season 2 or you could. I don't know what you can do now. I don't want to speak for what's going on with products at the building, because I am out of the loop on that.
I think they are available.
But in any sense, as far as I know, every show that I've ever done, so that's the last 15 years, is available, with the exception of, I think, one show that we pulled because there was a guest who was not comfortable being on the show under their actual name.
Right.
And so we pulled it. Yeah, but only for a period of time. I think that got reposted. They wrote back and, like, "Hey, I just need to do this now."
Okay. So were they?
I know what it was. They were running for office.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then after the election was over and they didn't win, they're like, "Okay, fuck it, put it back up."
Were they afraid that somebody might see that as they're running, I guess?
Yeah. It's one of those things. It's and they weren't somebody who was, they're not a part of the movement. They just happen to be on the show as a caller that was supportive, but they called in under their actual name. So
I see. Yeah. 15 years, man. You've been doing it for 15 years, as you just said. Is there, like, say, a few episodes that really stand out in your mind that you wish you could go back and maybe change a couple of things?
No, but that's because there aren't that any episodes that actually stand out in my mind at all, because I don't linger on the past. Like, I remember what I talked about on the first show that I ever did. And I remember a couple of times when mistakes were made. Like, I remember once Russell and I were sitting there and the caller asked us about the ontological argument, and we gave a response to the cosmological argument. And then afterwards he's like, "Well, that was a really good response to that, but that wasn't the argument." And having both of us get it wrong, to know that our brains were on autopilot, some things changed. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of times where I think I hung up on somebody too soon. I'm my harshest critic, despite what some people think, because when the show's over, I replay it in my head going, "Oh, should you have done that? Should you do that?" And then I listen to feedback, and then I try and make changes, but I can't go back and undo the past. And so I just don't hang on to it.
That's actually sage words. That's what I can say for sure. I try not to as well in some of the, because I fucked up a lot in my life too, but I try not to live in the past. I try to learn from that shit and just move forward.
Yeah.
I remember a little while ago, probably quite a while ago, because I think it was probably before Faithless Forum, you had put out a post about knitting hats or something for the homeless folks.
Oh,
or toques or something.
Beth, my ex-wife, made a truckload of hats for the homeless. We even got a knitting loom for the hats so that she could produce them faster. That was her project that I just kind of supported. I didn't actually do the knitting because I don't knit. First of all, I crochet. So, like, there's a slight difference. So this is one of my hats, that a toque for my Canadian
for the Canadian friends
that I crocheted myself. But yeah, the knitting thing was awesome. She had this little two different sizes of loom, and she'd just crank out. It basically, the toques become a tube that you tie off at one end. So yeah, she made. I can't even remember how many it was. Was it 1,000?
Wow. How long did that take?
A year. It was a 1-year project.
Oh, wow. And that must have been quite the experience going out there and then handing them out. And because I love doing stuff like that. We used to do that here in Vancouver, up along Hastings, which is our sort of homeless folks area. And we'd do the blankets. People would knit or make blankets, and we go out and we give out blankets and stuff like that. And it always kind of makes my heart melt a little bit just to see some of the appreciative expressions or whatever from these folks. So
Yeah.
Do you get the same sort of thing going on?
I do. One of the things, so I don't want to give anybody the false impression. I'm almost never, so Atheists Helping the Homeless and Humanists at Work and a number of other atheist organizations, Austin has a massive homeless population. And so they are out there weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. I don't go out there and participate with them on the giveaways that often. I've been out 3 or 4 times in 3 or 4 years, but I'm constantly trying to support their stuff. And so when Beth was doing the hat thing, it was like, oh, we were actually out there a little bit more than that. But it's great to watch them. And I feel kind of bad because I'm telling somebody else's story right now. They were like, oh, it was so awesome because the homeless people would keep coming up to us, as we're giving them stuff and say, oh, what church are you with? And they'd have to say, we're not with the church. We don't want you to have to be forced to listen to a sermon just to eat the sandwich. We'd rather just give you the damn sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that happens here too. They got a couple of mission places here that do that. And I visited one probably about 5 years ago, and went in there because a friend of mine was going through a rough time, and he said, oh, just come meet me at this mission. I'm going to go get lunch. And we sat there, and of course they start doing all the speaking about the Bible and you should find your way to Jesus and all that stuff. And I go, wow, do they make you listen to this like every time you come in? He goes, yeah, every time. Like, wow, okay. But he's never turned to Jesus. He's an atheist like me. But he won't tell them that. I said, you should tell them. He said, no, I can't tell them. Then they might not feed me. So, which I guess is possible, but I can't see them not feeding them. Just make them sit through another sermon regardless.
I think so. It's interesting watching. I mean, when I say Austin has a massive homeless population, it's something that once COVID is over, I'm really hoping that the city starts to seriously focus on it. And by the way, when I say that, I'm not talking about the fact that there are tent communities all over and there's some sort of eyesore that I want to get rid of. No, I want actually to help the people so they don't have to live in a tent underneath, an underpass. But the thing is, Austin has nice weather. And so if you're homeless in Dallas or you're homeless in Oklahoma, you hitch to Austin, you're in the nice weather region. This is, and also as a liberal city that provides a great many resources, it's not like this is ever a good thing, but it's a good place to be homeless compared to many of the other places where you could find yourself without shelter, with support. Sure. And so that's why they're gravitating here. And I'm like, okay, great. Let's, there's plenty of things around Austin that could change to make sure that rather than just having a massive homeless population, you had a massive attentiveness to end the homelessness of that population. But I don't know how to do it.
No, I don't think there's any one answer. I think there's probably multiple ways that can happen. I know here in Vancouver, there are a couple of complexes that were built to house some of the homeless people through some government subsidies and stuff like that. So that's a step in the right direction. Yeah,
we have some of that here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's nice to go down and watch. And by the way, when we are down there, we are working alongside religious organizations as well. And some of them are doing amazing stuff. Yeah. Yes. They're, baiting with a sermon or prodding with a sermon. But I also learned a great deal from some of the people that are down there working about what's needed, which is why we shifted focus, or some of the organizations shifted focus to things like socks. And one of the organizations, which I know was a religious one, was actually just sitting there giving anyone who wanted a pedicure, because in the period of time, if you're homeless for a long period of time, your feet are the things that are most likely to rot. You're standing in unclean socks, and you're standing outside and you're sweating in Texas, and feet just tend to be the thing that people don't take care of. One of the reasons why so many diabetics end up losing their feet is because it's down there, it's covered in a sock, we just don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, my socks are awesome.
Oh, really?
These I can almost show you. I'll try and show you. So yes, treat. My girlfriend got me these for Christmas, This one says "Do not disturb," and the other one says "I'm gaming." And so when I put my feet up in the recliner and I'm playing, anybody walks by gets the message really clearly.
That's awesome. I just had a question and it fell out of my head. It'll come back to me in a minute. I'll move on to something else. What do you think? When I want to speak a little bit about charity, like altruism, that kind of thing.
Sure.
I've been told once, and and I never really checked it out before or since I've been told this, but I could see that being the case. Someone told me once that there's actually more non-religious charities out there than there are religious charities. I don't know if that's true. Do you know anything about that? And do you think that we as a community can do more? Back to the community thing, which we just talked about, but do you think we as atheists can do more?
Yeah. So I don't know what the percentage of religious charities to non-religious charities there are, but it wouldn't surprise me because it's not like a charity. You could have a charity like the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation that is not in any way tied to a religion and is purely secular because religion isn't an issue for that. And so there may be many, many, many charities like that. I wouldn't, and that's great because I don't care if there's like an atheist charity. I would prefer to support secular charities, or prefer to support non-religious charities, but I've supported religious charities as well. The ones when you go and investigate them and you find out, hey, 98 cents of every dollar I give goes directly to the issue. This is a good charity, whether it's run by a religion or not. Yeah, for sure. And so this is it. And, like when we were down there working alongside other organizations and religious organizations, I don't have a problem with that. And the Reverend Barry Lynn and I, we agreed. I'm never going to try and convince him that God's not real because I want a religious person who has the same views as I do on church-state separation. And so there's always ways to find, or there's not always, there is often ways to find opportunities for cooperation. But with regard to the charity, I think, yes. So first of all, religions have been at a disadvantage. Would I like to see more secular organizations being charitable? You bet. On the other hand, we're still building. We're still building those communities. Atheist Community of Austin, we have a building. It's rare. There's not too many, and we own it. There's not too many atheist or secular organizations in the U.S., charity or otherwise, that own a building. Usually that even some of the ones at the national level don't own property. And as long as that's the case, we're now building up to the point where we can start focusing more on charitable efforts. And so I've worked with a bunch of different organizations, primarily to raise awareness about the donations and to try to draw donations in. I think if the stat is that there are currently more secular charities than religious charities, I'd like to see that number climb even more, but I may not feel the same. That I may not put it at a priority above building the community. I think we've got to. I heard an interesting analogy today from someone who was talking about we're having to build the plane while we're flying it. He was talking about
interesting
the infrastructure needed to get COVID vaccine out to people. And it has to happen. We don't have the infrastructure, so we're doing it both. And he said, basically, we're building the plane as we fly it. I think that's what, to whatever extent there is a broader atheist community, I think that's probably a good analogy for what's happening. We are building the community that will allow us to put more into charitable efforts. And we're not truly there yet. I think the ACA is, well, I don't know of any local organization that is better equipped to do that, and that's the stuff that we're starting to do now.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I've noticed that too. And I also try and push. I help out a friend of mine. I think you know her, Godless Mom or whatever, Courtney.
Sure.
She does the International Atheists because she kind of had a little falling out with the other version and started her own, which I became a card-carrying member of. And
yeah, they reached out to me. Yeah.
Did they?
I talked to them a little bit and off and on, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what they're trying to do, get people out of troubled areas that they're being held in, like atheists that are being held, and try and get them out of these countries and somewhere safer for them. And I think that's good because now we got Zara, who's in a lot of trouble right now. Zara K.
My understanding is I'm not supposed to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
I mean, right. So I shared stuff. I got one message back, but the last I heard is that, well, actually, I'm not sure what we should or shouldn't publicize about it. I just don't know. Maybe everything's public now, and
I'm pretty sure
so focused on the insurrection at the Capitol that I may not have missed that. But I didn't get to talk to Zara at all. But yeah, that was an issue. I started to promote, then I was told to not promote, then I was told she was safe, and so
right. Well, I've seen a lot of people promoting the whole thing about her, so I just figured it was something we could just at least touch on. And nobody's come after me for posting that stuff. So.
Yeah, it's the prospect of that is terrifying.
It trumped up charges. It's ridiculous.
It's strange, and I really need to find out more. But this is the first time where someone who I know, I mean, don't get me wrong, Zara and I aren't good friends. She was very nice, and when I had specific questions, I reached out to her on Twitter, and then we had a phone conversation. And so that's the extent to which she and I are connected. We had a long phone conversation, and she was very helpful. And so now she's someone who isn't some nameless atheist in Bangladesh who I still feel empathy for. There's a connection. I remember exactly where I was sitting, and somebody's like, "Hey, Zara's just been arrested," and blah blah blah. And I had to stop everything to go find out what was going on. And then it was basically I ended up talking with Shannon Q, and it was kind of like a hurry up and wait. And we're just sitting around here going, get us some news.
Mm-hmm. But yeah. And I think, and she's actually, Zara's been tweeting herself on her Twitter a couple of times. There are people that are doing it representing for her. And then there's a few that she's done herself. She was let out on bail, as far as I know, and she's home, but they still haven't given back her passport, and they still haven't cleared her of anything that they've thrown at her. So, still waiting to hear about that. But my friend Sassy Heathen said there has been some new information about that. By the way, guys, if any of you do have a question that you want me to ask Matt, if you do just like a $1 or $2 super chat, just so I can see the difference in color, because it's a lot different on the StreamYards than it is on YouTube. So I won't see my name highlighted or anything. So I have to do something like that if you do have one. All right. So what? Speaking of the Twitch we were talking about earlier, what are you gaming right now?
Mostly Hades. My Twitch streams. Well, I've done a lot of different stuff on them on it, but right now Hades is the primary. I almost always, it's become tradition that when I end the stream, I usually play some games of chess, like with people who are in the stream chat wanting to challenge me and things like that.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'll do that. Played a bunch of different games. I mean, I'm an old school, so I used to run the #1 Counter-Strike team on the planet, and I was at QuakeCon 97. So first-person shooters are near and dear to me, but I'm no longer competitive, so I just play the single-player stuff. So we did, Dusk and a bunch of others. Doom Eternal. I put a bunch of hours into Cyberpunk, but I didn't stream any of them. That game is a hot mess.
Yes, I've heard from multiple people that there's a lot of shit going on.
Binding of Isaac, Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Hades is my new favorite. It's probably one of my favorite games I've played in the last 10 years.
Wow, cool. I've heard good things about it. You never got into any of the things like what do you call it? Call of Duty or anything like that?
Well, Call of Duty is kind of, I played Counter-Strike, and Call of Duty kind of branches off of that. I retired from competitive Counter-Strike, and my teammates, we were CK3 at the time. They renamed as X3 and 3D, and they went on and did great stuff. And I went on and played MMOs, and then gradually played some things less and less. But I game a lot, especially as I don't leave the house and haven't since last March, pretty much.
Right. Well, I mean, hell, I've been to your place. I've seen the damn TV. That thing's massive, and it's awesome for gaming.
It's a normal size TV, and I'm gaming up here on the monitors. I'm not gaming in the living room.
Okay, I just remember everyone using, I guess it was a PS4 or something at the time.
It's not like I have like a 300-inch TV. It's a regular 70-inch TV. It just, that's what needed to be.
Regular 70-inch TV, he says. I got a 50-inch and I feel inadequate already.
I never mind.
Oh no, you feel free to say whatever you want.
So there's a monitor here. There's a monitor here. There's a monitor there. There's a 50-inch TV right there that I'm using as a fourth monitor. But that's because it was an old TV. This is a crap TV that was in the other room, the guest room. So I don't need it there.
Oh, I get it. Give the guests the crap TV.
There's no TV in the guest room.
Oh no, they don't even get lower.
Nobody ever used it. Everybody always shows up with their own laptop, their own devices, everything else. I give them the Wi-Fi password. That TV never got turned on. And I was like, screw it. I'm going to use it as a monitor.
Awesome. Yeah, why not? I mean, you got to put it to use somehow.
Yeah.
So I got a question for you. Do you think you might ever join us for an episode of the Nonprofits? For a recording?
Might ever?
It'd be fun to do an episode with you.
If that's what people want, then the Nonprofits, I mean,
hear that, Johnny?
I'm not going to say no, but I mean, I've done a gazillion episodes of Nonprofits. I haven't been on since the revamp. Yeah. And there was a reason for that, because the ACA produces a lot of content. In addition to the Atheist Experience and Nonprofits, you've also got Talk Heathen, Truth Wanted, Secular Sexuality, and I'm sure I'm forgetting a bunch of others, and some of them are on a shelf and everything else. And I don't need to be on all of them. Yeah. And there has at time been concern. It's like, let's get Matt on the show. All I need to do is tweet out, hey, go watch Neil and everybody else on Nonprofits. But if you guys want me to come on for a show, I would be happy to come on for a one-off show.
I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Except that you guys record on what day?
Wednesday.
And what am I doing while you're recording?
That's the line.
That's the hang up.
The hang up, yes.
That's my Wednesday show. So I'd have to take a day off the show.
Well, we could I don't know. I see Johnny's in the chat actually right now.
Yeah.
We'll talk, Johnny. Because I think that would be fun to have on for an episode. Definitely. All right. So do you guys have any idea about whether or not there's going to be any more shows added to your roster at the ACA? Is there stuff people are looking at that they might want to add?
Well, one of the things is, we're doing everything we can to give people a chance to participate in producing content along with the ACA brand. So anytime anybody came up with an idea, at least when I was in charge of making any decisions about it, which is not now, the thing was, hey, try it out. See how it goes. Mm-hmm. Talk Heathen has done well. Secular Sexuality hasn't done as well, but I think it's so valuable and they love doing it. And it's not I want them to build to the point that, I would love it if like Secular Sexuality or something became 10 times bigger than even Atheist Experience. I mean, that's the goal. And one of the things that we're looking at is it's not just, hey, we're arguing. It's not the Atheist Experience. We're trying to produce content that addresses all the whole parts of a person. So even though we're not producing content right now with like a parenting beyond belief, that was part of it. Godless Bitches, working on, feminism issues and things like that from a secular perspective. Mm-hmm. We'll try it all. And we're going to continue being supportive. Now, my goal is to have essentially a secular network, and these homegrown shows like this graduate to content for the network and allow other people to produce content as well. But I don't know what's going to happen. Most of my plans went to hell towards the end of March last year, right around the time of my birthday. The last time I was on stage with anybody was March 1st in New York with Dinesh D'Souza. I don't want that to be the last time I was on stage with somebody, because that is awful.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I did tell you this before when I was down in Texas and hanging out, but I had tickets, or maybe I did, I don't remember. I had tickets for you, and I think it was I had tickets to 2 shows, and one show I ended up having to work, and the other one I was deathly ill. So I gave the tickets to the same person for both
both
shows.
in BC,
Both in Vancouver at the Chinese Cultural Center.
oh yeah. So which one? So I was there. I've been there like 5 times.
Dawkins, I think, was one of them.
Yeah.
And what the hell was the other one? I think it was James Randi, I think.
Okay. Yeah. So I did an event there with Dawkins at the Chan Center.
Chan Center.
And also Randy and I did an event there where we sat and talked for a while. He did a little magic. Then he went and sat in the audience. And then myself, Sean Farquhar, and Murray Hatfield did magic shows. I opened. We didn't do a magic show together. I opened for the 2-time world champion and one of Canada's greatest illusionists, and they gratefully allowed me to goof around on stage before them.
That must have been awesome.
Fortunately, they're both Sean Farquhar and Murray Hatfield. It's just both incredibly wonderful people, and I will always be grateful to have Sean in my life. We've become friends, even though I haven't talked to him in a while. I miss you, Sean. Hope you're well. and that's doubly special because we lost the amazing Randy this year, and I just found out right before we went on the air that Siegfried died.
Is that why you retweeted that?
Yeah. So Siegfried and Roy, wonderful big stage magicians, just with big cats and great until Roy was mauled, and then they shut down, and then they retired in 2010. But Roy died in May from COVID. And Siegfried died today or within the last 24 hours of pancreatic cancer. It's weird because I look around at my magical heroes and my magical friends, and it's like, there's going to be. My grandmother used to have a book next to her chair. Anytime it was a death book. Anytime somebody she knew died, she'd go ahead and put the name in. But she had a second part of it, which was like listing her best friends and things like that, and would cross them off. And I don't know if she was sitting there going, being sad about it, or like, beat you. I beat you. I've outlived you. I don't know what she was doing, but I love the notion that I at least got to spend time with someone. Now, first of all, I didn't know Siegfried and Roy at all personally.
Right.
I just knew of them. But I knew Randy, and it's still my cover photo on Facebook. And I don't know when I'll take it down. Maybe something significant is going to have to happen before I change it. I don't change my cover photo that often. Yeah. But yeah, I miss Randy.
He was amazing human being. All right, I got one question so far from Atheist Chico for you. Here's his question from Matt. What's the criteria for having you on other lesser known shows and channels? What are you willing to do and have time to do?
There is no set criteria. It's nicer if I actually know somebody, like Neil and I knew each other, but before I did it. But also, I say yes to a lot. You really want to get me on the show? Don't ask me to come on and tell my life story, because none of this should be. This shouldn't be about me. I'm just the guy that's pushing the mission forward. So that is one change. I don't know. Ask. It's
really, that's what it comes down to. Just ask it if you can.
And I have a lot of free time. On the other hand, I don't want to do like 43 interviews a month. It would be nice. So like the other day I did the God podcast with God and Jesus and Moses and the Holy Spirit. And it was fun. And yeah, I don't know. I say yes to a lot, and it's almost never turned out bad. I can't remember maybe one podcast or one thing in 15 years that I just said yes to turned out to be awful. The rest of it, I always get something out of it.
Total shit show or something. Well, okay. So tonight I got a chance of being a number 2. Is that what you're telling
me? I'm sorry. I was reading in chat, and best name ever was like, has Matt been checking out the Foolish Show? Any of those magic people seem promising. As a matter of fact, I just watched the first episode of this new season where some of them are virtual. And there's a woman from Sweden named Malin Nielsen, I believe, who it's a beautiful and it's some of the best magic I've seen in the last year. And so hop yourself out on YouTube if you like magic, do the latest Fool Us, and her name is Malin Nielsen. It's a really great performance.
I'll have to do that because I dig that show.
I watch all the time. I've watched every episode of every season.
I have 2 so far.
I have sometimes so I would often sit there watching with my ex-wife, and it would be, hey, which one of Matt's friends is going to be on the show this week? Because Brian Brushwood's been on it, and Suzanne's been on it, and it's like, and it'd be like, oh, I know him. Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. And then it was, is this going to fool Matt? Now, to be fair, I have an advantage over Penn and Teller in that I can pause and think about it. And I tried to never rewind. But yeah, sometimes I got fooled. Sometimes I didn't get fooled when they got fooled. Sometimes they weren't fooled at all when I was baffled. And I love that show. But the truth is that show is not about fooling them. The truth is that show is just getting magic on TV.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a great show. And there's some stuff that just, I have to sit back and I'm like, after smoking a joint or something, I'm like, holy crap, man, how did you do that? Because, a lot of it is sleight of hand and you just don't see it. You miss it because they distract you and stuff like that. Are you going to do something right now?
No, I just realized, sorry. I realized my hands were dry.
Oh,
I was putting lotion on, but I'm not getting ready to do a magic trick.
Okay. I thought you were like looking for a prop. Because it's funny because usually when we get everyone in here, we get together, I always have everything within arm's reach. So
I don't have to look for props. There's magic props all around me.
When did you start doing magic?
I think it was about 3 when I got my first magic kit. There's a video.
3 years old.
Me getting it. Now, I didn't really, I did stuff early on, and I sucked up as many magic books and magic kits as I could get early on. But it was probably around 11 or so that I really started getting serious and going to magic shops and, trying to get the guys there. Like DeVoe's Magic Den in St. Louis, Missouri. John Mendoza used to work the counter there when I was a little kid. And John is one of the greatest card workers that's ever lived. And it was funny because I'm just a little kid going up and asking, hey, what's this? What's this? What's this? And he's practicing and he's irritated. He is, it's his job to sit there and sell magic tricks to kids, but he's practicing and legit, like, don't get me wrong. I have DVDs of John Mendoza sitting directly in front of me. He wouldn't remember me from anybody. I was just another kid that he sold stuff to. But occasionally when he showed, when he saw you come in and he knew, this is the kid that did that thing, and you could show him something, then he'd get you a book, which was always better than just like, here's a little gimmick to do some kind of weird trick or whatever, but here's an actual book. And so I have, and other magic nerds, I have all of Paul Harris's books, including like the spiral bound first editions of all of them. Because that's when I was going to DeVoe's, was in that time frame, and John would sell me one of Paul Harris's books every time I came in, along with a couple other things.
Cool, that's all right. So I heard you guys got snow down there.
Yeah, just the other day.
We haven't had it. Well, we had a little bit here, but that's unusual. You guys getting snow and us not getting any snow.
It happens here every few years. There was there's a couple of inches that gathered on the hood of the truck, and so I put it together in into a little miniature snowman sitting on my thing. But it all melted within a few hours, and it was 69 here today. So
yeah. You should have kept some snow and stuck it in the freezer.
I love snow. I definitely don't ever want to shovel snow, but I don't miss snow so much that I need to put it in the freezer. I've already got a problem with my freezer. I got to defrost it all the time anyway.
Oh, and there's your snow anyways, after you scrape it all out before you defrost it. Yeah. Well, I tell you, one of the reasons I live in Vancouver here in Canada is because honestly, we don't really get a lot of snow. Every 8 to 10 years, we get this massive dump that comes up to my waist. And of course, last year, one of those semi dumps happened and I couldn't even get over the bridge. My car wouldn't go over the bridge. I had to be towed off the bridge.
Wow.
But most of the time it's raining here. And the one thing about rain is you don't have to shovel rain. So I'm okay with that. Because I've shoveled snow and it sucks.
I like that. I like not shoveling rain.
Yeah, exactly.
It's heavier than snow.
It is. Well, yeah. But I mean, When snow packs, it can be just as fucking heavy, if not heavier.
No, because it'd have to be packed down to be ice to be dense enough to be heavier. Snow is aerated water, which means it's always going to be lighter than an equivalent volume of water.
Oh, I'm talking like you get a big pile of it and it packs down.
Yeah, no, I was using shovelful as this, like a shovelful of this. It does remind me of the old kind of pub gotcha question of, which weighs more, a pound of feathers or a pound of gold?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Shit, I had another question I was going to ask you. I already remember the last one. I already asked it, so it'll come back to me.
I'm here for all of them. Ask whatever you need.
So, since we've all been trapped indoors,
mm-hmm.
Other than the gaming, what is it that you usually do on a daily basis that you may not if you weren't trapped inside?
Well, I'm making some improvements and changes around the house. So I'm rebuilding it's a 4-bedroom house, but the last bedroom is the studio where I record the Atheist debate stuff. Whereas this is just, there's a green screen right here and I'm like in my bedroom at my desk, but the studio at the end of the hall, I'm working to revamp that. I'm also building a couple of other things of improvements around the home. I trimmed the trees. My yard is always neatly mowed. I moved the trampoline in the backyard so that I can start adjusting. I'm doing a lot of crap around the house that I would have had. Like I bought a lot of guitars too. There's a company called Harley Benton,
Cool.
and you can get for like $100-200 a guitar that go look at the reviews for Harley Benton. They're comparable to like my PRS copy is comparable to like the $1,200, $1,300 entry level for $150. So I have quite a few guitars hanging now. I do play them too, but not very well. And best name ever said porn, lots of porn. Yes, but I would have been doing that either way. COVID.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. But anyways, I think we should write a song, you and I.
All right. Not right now though.
Well, no. Yeah, I know.
Because it would be Yellow Submarine right now.
Which is totally fine in my books. Beatles are one of my all-time favorite bands.
But no, so the downstairs looks different from the last time you saw it. And that is that where the keyboard is over by the window, there's the seat. And then there's a drum kit on the other side of that seat. So I have a seat there where I can go from a drum kit to the keyboard and back. And then there's a PRS copy, an ES335 copy. Both of those are Harley Bentons, but I've got an Epiphone SG and an Epiphone Les Paul and Pelham Blue. And then there's a Strat, a hollow telly with P90s on it.
Oh man. A
solid body telly. And then my Martin 6-string, the Taylor 12, and then a really old Ovation. Applause. I sold the Ovation. And then there's a banjo, keyboard, a ukulele, mandolin, violin. I not only love the music stuff, but I like when people come over because everybody I know plays guitar or something. And for the people who didn't play guitar, now there's, hey, you play drums? Cool. You play keyboard? Well, all right, we'll put 2 benches in there if we need to. And people can just come over and jam. Yeah. Shelley Siegel jammed over here and wrote songs in my living room, in my kitchen and living room. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, she was great. I had her on actually a little while back, and we had a great chat. Now I pop into her songwriting stuff that she does on YouTube. Like every other Sunday, she goes and she has her audience in there, and we all get together and write a song with her. So it's a lot of fun to do that. I thought it was a lot of fun, us sitting around, me, you, and Drew, and doing that song of Drew's, except I could not keep the damn lyrics straight.
Well, I had to get Drew back there. I miss being able to have people over. Like in the entire time, apart from people who were living here, only on 2 occasions, Eric Pearson came over and we had a masked social distance sit around and play all the guitars session. And Arden came over and we did pretty much the same thing. Hey, we're going to play guitar and everything else. I'm thinking about, I can't wait until we're at a new state where we're not in stage 5 here in Austin, where we've got vaccinations, where a handful of people come over. And yes, by the way, Ryan King, I now have a base. Wasn't ignoring you. Davey 504 shamed me, and not personally, but just watching him shamed me into actually getting a base. I have one downstairs as well.
Cool. Oh yeah, I remember when you posted that. I was like, great, I need a bassist.
Yeah, I don't know how to play it, but as long as it's just the 4, bottom strings on
It's
a
only
guitar,
4 strings.
I'm good. 6. It's like a ukulele with a bit more. Maybe got more back. More back.
Yeah, more back. Yeah, there you go. All right, I overlooked one from Atheist Chico again. A second question from Matt: where do I request? Please come on my channel. Co-host would lose it.
Well, first you need to learn the difference between lose and loose.
I didn't even notice that when I read it.
I just have so much fun with it. The easiest way is always going to be messaging me on Facebook if we're friends, because I respond quicker to that. Or you can't DM me on Twitter without me following you. The other one is just to email sans.deity@gmail.com. I'm not as good about answering email, but if you put in there, interested in having you on podcast or whatever in the subject line, I will try and keep an eye out for it and we can talk.
There you go, Chico. He's a friend of the guys from the TART channel, the Atheist Roundtable channel.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, they're good guys.
Is that the podcast that they were asking?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I know
somebody earlier said they wanted to see me on TART.
Yes, they did. And I know those guys quite well, so I can hook you up with them if you want.
Are they good guys?
Oh, yes.
Well,
they definitely are.
Just tell them I'll do TART then.
Okay, I'll let them know. Yeah, they're great guys. I've been on their show a couple of times now, and I've hung out with them on like sort of after party type stuff as well. Wait, whose channel was it? It was Justin's channel that we were on just a couple of weeks ago. He was doing the anniversary thing or something, and all of us popped in there.
Was it? I was on with so I remember the Vice Rhino one, and at this point everything's a blur. I couldn't possibly remember what I've done or who I've done it with. You could say, you remember that time when you debated? Nope, don't remember. Apart from, are some of the debates more memorable than others? You bet. I remember the side debate. I remember the Dinesh D'Souza debate. I remember sitting down with Jordan Peterson, although that wasn't a debate. I remember the guy who stormed out in the middle of the debate. But honestly, you could say, hey, you did a debate on this topic with so-and-so. And I'd be like,
maybe.
Really?
Well, it happens. Well,
like,
honestly,
show me? And it's easy to show me because Dargendorf's got a list.
So I don't blame you for kind of getting them all blurring together because you've done so many, right? So
I feel so bad. Don't get me wrong. I don't feel too bad, but somebody messaged me on Facebook Messenger the other day, and it's clearly someone that I've interacted with, but there's no history of a conversation at all. So like, this is the first time they've ever messaged me on Messenger, and they had a question just out of the blue about something, and then said, oh, by the way, remember me? And I'm like, I'm now terrified to answer because I have to say, no, I don't. I wish I did. I don't. If it makes you feel better, I can't name some of my exes either. But
yeah, I can't either. Well, most of them, I think I remember. Some of them are probably forgettable anyways. All right. So a while ago, we had this super chat question. Matt, do you ever go to Austin City Limits?
I've never been to Austin City Limits. I've watched a few classic Austin City Limits, but I've never been there myself.
I used to love watching that show when I was younger.
There's what's his name? Eric Johnson. There's an Eric Johnson Austin City Limits where he does Cliffs of Dover. That's probably my favorite version of that. But yeah, I haven't been. There's a lot of cool stuff in Austin, the live music capital of the world. You can all thank Willie and Waylon for loving weed and loving Austin. Because one of my favorite songs of all time is Weed with Willie, despite the fact that I don't like one of the individuals who sings it, but the song is too good and he didn't write it. So screw him. I'm going to enjoy the song anyway.
It's a great tune.
6th Street is, You know, go down, you walk around 6th Street. We shut it down on the weekends. We shut it down several times a year for festivals and things like that. Some of the best barbecue you're ever going to find. Just amazing food. Please, if you're secular, consider moving to Austin. Not because of the ACA or anything else, just because I'd like to see that, like, one city. Like, if there was an atheist Mecca, this should be it.
Yes, for sure.
Except that we may need to make it BC. We may need to be up in Vancouver because,
well, it's legal, and we are quite renowned for our strains of weed up here.
Oh, I wasn't even talking about the weed. I was just like, my nation is in a state of flux, and while I'm generally optimistic and was giggling like a baby the other day, yeah, you know, things could go wrong enough where I might need a new home.
Well, if that ever is a necessity, Matt, I can hook you up. No problem.
Sweet. Although my girlfriend lives in Florida, so I think I'm probably going to end up there more than Vancouver, but I appreciate it.
She's probably much better looking than I am, so I'd go. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like, not even in the ballpark.
I kind of feel sad now.
Nah, it's all right.
I'm just joking around. Okay. You bring in the weed thing, and that's just reminded me of a question that I had earlier. 3 people that you'd like to smoke a joint with.
Nobody, and nobody. But that's only because I don't want to smoke a joint. But I will vape some weed.
Oh, well, okay. But that's what I mean. Like, all right, let me rephrase.
I know.
Who would you like to do some weed with?
I just did it for the joke. And actually, so marijuana is illegal in Austin and in Texas. And but City Council announced in the past year that they are no longer giving out tickets or making any arrests for personal possession. It's only if you're doing something else and you happen to have some weed. So you can walk down the street smoking a joint now. And as long as you don't do anything else, like jaywalk, they're not going to arrest you or cite you at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a step in the right direction.
My 3, number 1 is Dan Dennett. Dan and I have had a couple of very short email conversations. We've never met in person. He is one of my secular philosophical heroes. And I don't care if he tokes up or not. I would love to roll a fatty with Dan Dennett. That's one.
I could see that.
There's got to be others.
Well, Willie Nelson, I would think for sure.
Oh, well, sure. So that'll be number 2. And I don't know. I think instead of picking somebody that I'd want to toke up with, I think I'd like to have me, Hector Garcia, and Sam Harris all take DMT or something, because I haven't done it. And I know that both of them would be in favor of it. But I like so first of all, I want to be clear. I'm in favor of legalization, and I like my brain when it's working correctly. I don't like to be high when I'm never going to go to a debate high. Not going to be doing either of my shows high.
Wouldn't that depend on who you're debating? You might need to be for some of them.
It could be useful. I don't like to do any of my shows high, but I have diabetic neuropathy and I'm pain, and nothing's been better than weed for me getting sleep. It would be like I'd get 2 hours a night over and over again, and it just but yeah. So we'll go Willie Nelson, Dan Dennett, and then do ayahuasca or something with Sam and Hector.
Sam and Hector?
Yeah.
Speaking of Hector, I was just going to say,
oh my gosh, look at all the names in chat. Tim mentioned, yes. Betty White, yes. Bob Marley, well, he's dead. Kevin Smith, yes. Stevie Ray Vaughan, also dead. But,
yeah, hell yeah.
Graydon Square, you bet. I'm not saying who anybody wants to roll up, cool. But you asked for the preference, so.
Oh, next time I'm down there, well, for the next Faithless Forum, whenever we can come back, I'll be there. We'll be vaping.
There we go.
Teresa Duplessis says, Matt sent a storm to wake me. I woke up from the wind. Remember, there's washing on the line at 3:52 a.m. I was awake and go on to YouTube, and what do you know?
I move in mysterious ways.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and Snoop Dogg is one of my top 3. I'd love to smoke a doobie with Snoop Dogg. But that fucker probably smoked me under the table.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how that would go. Like, but
really
yeah,
slowly.
it's not like I'd pass it up. If somebody said, "Hey, you want to come get high with so and so?" There's a lot of people on that so and so that I'd be like, "Yes, you
absolutely." Anyways, back to Hector Garcia. My favorite book that I read last year is Hector Garcia's Alpha God.
Yeah,
it is an amazing book.
It
Up
is
there in my top 3 right now. Like, and the stuff he talks about in there, how God seems to reflect how the human brain works.
I'm gonna have him on. Well, I'm going to ask him. He's hung out over here too, and I love talking to him about all this stuff. I would expect that he'll be a guest on the Hang Up at some point in the not too distant future, but not booked.
I had him on a little while ago, and we had a great conversation actually. And I went for lunch with him and Anthony Magnabosco when I was down there, a little Mexican joint down the road from the ACA. And we had a good time at that. We had fajitas and stuff. At Anthony's suggestion, he's like, "You got to try these fajitas here." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. I guess I got to." And they were awesome.
Those are 2 of my favorite people. And I couldn't imagine steering you any more appropriately than say, "Hey, go hang out with Anthony and Hector and get some food."
Yeah, for sure. And I got to tell you, Matt, the one thing that just blew me away is the hospitality you guys have down there. Everywhere I went, I would go and let's go get some food. I would suggest it and go, like, let's say Jamie or something would go for like chicken and waffles for breakfast or whatever it was. And I get out my card. He's like, "Oh, no, we'll take care of this." Nobody there would let me pay for anything when I was down there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that happens. I'm happy to let you pay for stuff though.
I'll keep that in mind. Oh, don't worry. I'm not going to show up at your place empty-handed the next time I'm there. That's for sure.
I accidentally did that on a couple of occasions, like where anyone with a brain would have realized this is an occasion where you should bring a gift. On 2 different times, I have felt like the worst person for not following that. And honestly, when people show up at my place and they bring something, I always feel guilty. It's like, "Oh God, don't bring anything." And what ends up happening is, like, we've had a couple parties over here, and I end up with way too much alcohol, food, and stuff left over, and a lot of it's sweets.
Yeah,
and I'm diabetic, and so here's a whole tray of sweet stuff that didn't get eaten. Well, guess what is going to get eaten while if I'm here?
Yeah, but you kind of got to watch. You kind of watch what you take in, though, right?
You're not going to leave half a birthday cake in my refrigerator and it's not going to get eaten. I'm just going to eat the whole damn thing in one go.
Especially after vaping. Well, I'm going to confess something, Matt. I've been listening to you for years now, doing the Atheist Experience and whatnot. And I get a lot of funny looks because I work in a lab where I work, right? Because what I do is I recycle antifreeze and we turn it into new antifreeze, the old stuff. And then I have to test it in the lab and make sure it's up to the specs for the Canadian ASTM.
You should tell them you're taking antifreeze and turning it into Uncle Freeze.
Why didn't I even think of that? That's usually the type of joke that I think of. I told one last night on Twitter and it's gotten 600 and something likes already. I know. And I'm like, holy shit, that's probably my biggest one. It says, I literally live 5 minutes away from my pub.
Yes.
It takes me 5 minutes to walk there, but 45 minutes to walk back. The difference is staggering.
Yes. I'm pretty sure I am one of those likes because I remember seeing that and going, that's fucking funny. I mean, that is a proper stand-up comedian with their own show funny type of joke.
Oh, well, it's not actually mine. I heard it years and years ago, but it's actually true. The pub that I go to is literally right over there. So it's 5 minutes away from me. So I just thought it was funny to bring it back.
It is absolutely funny.
I'm not that smart. Not even close. But is that we've come up to the hour, my friend. So
wow.
I know it goes by quick, especially when, I think we're having a good time. So I think we're going to carry on the good time. I'm going to take a little bit of a break and then I'll give you a link for the brand new link for the after party. And that's what we're going to do next, guys. If anyone would like to come in and say hello, and I'm sure there's probably a lot, so I might have to rotate people in and out, but you're welcome to hit me up on the messengers on Twitter or Facebook, or send me an email. The link for that is below. and we can work something out. You can come in and say hi to Matt if you have a question for him that I forgot to ask or didn't get around to asking. That's your opportunity. But don't be surprised if you don't get in, because I've already kind of pre-promised some folks that they could come in here. So we're working with limited space, but I'll do my best to get you guys in here for a few minutes at a time so you can say hello. Anyways, thank you, Matt.
Absolutely.
So much for joining me, man.
Do I stay here or is there a different link?
There's going to be a different link. So I'll send you take a break.
I'm going to go down and see if there's any cake in the fridge before I come
From March, your birthday? That's going to be a little bad now, no?
Oh no, it'd be new cake that I bought for myself.
Okay. All right. Just before we go, guys, I got a few mentions that I want to do here. Don't forget, thank you to all my wonderful patrons. It's because of you guys that the show keeps improving and keeps going. And Randolph and I are starting up our own call-in show, very much like the ones you are familiar with, like Talk Heathen, Atheist Experience, etc. And it's going to be called True North Talk. And there's a link below so you can go and sub to that channel. We're looking forward to getting it started up sometime in the spring. We had to move things back because construction due to bad weather for building the studio is kind of fallen behind a little bit. But we're working on it. Plus, not only that, COVID keeps it so that Randolph and I can't get together to do the building because they have stricter rules here now. Also, as the little note down here says, I'm now a host of the Nonprofits. So go over to that channel and give them a sub. I just did the last episode last night, and it should be coming up soon. And yeah, I tell you what, Matt, they had Mandiza on, and I was supposed to be on that show. And I got a fucking call from work saying, you got to come back to work. We got the new rules for the health and safety, and you are the chief first aid attendant. I was like, fuck you guys.
Oh, man.
I know. Pissed. But I'm going to get in touch with her and get her on to come on here and chat with me.
She is hot buttered awesome. One of my favorite people.
She is an amazing lady. At the end of every month on the Saturday, or sorry, I should say the last Saturday of every month, myself, Andy, and Seamus get together for a little show we do called Atheist Drinking Out Loud, where we usually have a guest on. We talk about some of the latest news, things that have happened, to make fun of them, usually about Trump, something like that. But anyways, that happens the last Saturday of every month. And to head over to Andy's channel, which is the Laughing in Disbelief channel, and you'll be able to see that show every Saturday. Also, you guys know about my new schedule, so I don't have to really repeat that. I used to do the Mondays and Wednesdays, but I had to clear Wednesdays for the nonprofits. All right, guys. So thanks, everyone, for hanging out with Matt and I. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And like I always say at the end of the interviews, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.
What's on